Hey, dancers, Anthony and Rose. We got some cool West Coast swing for you guys today. The awesome thing that we love about West Coast swing is it's actually pretty simple when you approach it in the right way. We've got one pattern we're going to teach you guys today and then show you a bunch of different ways to use it. So you're going to like this one a lot, so stick around. Guys, the awesome thing about West Coast swing is if you approach it in the right way, West Coast swing is seriously one of the most simple of all the dances.
For sure.
And I know a lot of people are led to believe it's very complicated, there's so much stuff to know, and a lot of times when people first get started, they look at it as being very complicated because they just approached it in the wrong way.
Yep.
So we're going to show you guys, as well as we've done in a lot of other videos, how simple West Coast swing can be. We're going to show you guys what's called a wrap in and out, and then show you other ways to do that thing. Now, if you're brand new to this channel, welcome. Now, we post all of the country dances from West Coast swing to two-step to waltz, all that. But you're going to notice this little button down here, and it says subscribe. Now, if you click that button, then you become an ex-dancer, and you'll know when all the awesome stuff happens here on the channel. So we're going to demonstrate the pattern, and then we'll break it down. All right, guys, so the core pattern of what we're going to teach you guys today is called a wrap in and out. So we're going to demonstrate that, and then we're going to show you a few of the variations of that we're going to show you guys today. So the basic wrap in and out looks like this. We're going to wrap her in and send her out. Now we can turn that into what's called a fold, and then we can go into more of a sweetheart position. Now once you guys can do that basic wrap in and out, then we can start syncopating that, which looks a little bit more like this. Go. All right, guys, if you've ever watched any amount of our West Coast swing videos here, you know that we teach everything in sections of 2 beats of music. Now, this is a 6-count pattern. So if you take 6 beats and you divide it by 2, it's 3 sections of 2 beats of music. Now, if you have not watched the basic idea video, that is here. Definitely you want to see that one, if maybe before or after this video. But you have 3 sections of 2 beats of music. Okay, so the first 2 beats, and we're going to break this down piece by piece, but the first 2 counts of every pattern are going to be "She Comes Towards Me." Then in the second 2 counts, you have "Something Happens," and then you have an anchor, okay? So that is the basic structure of a 6-count pattern, but let's break it down in this section. So the first 2 counts of this pattern, no different than any other 2 patterns. She just like goes from there and she starts moving towards me because I lead her to come towards me. I'm gonna try to lead that with my body, which means if I've got 2 hands, I'm gonna lead her forward for 1, I'm gonna prep her for count 2 and step out of the slot for count 2. Now I've turned a quarter of a turn, she's still facing forward. I'm essentially going to stay facing this wall as I wrap her up. I'm going to take that left hand over her head for a triple step, okay? Now if we watch that from this other side, we have 1, 2, I've prepped her. I'm going to take that around that halo around her head. You notice it comes over her head and then it comes down. Now we teach pivot turns for this. Some people teach Shanae's, totally fine, whichever one you prefer. But she has, basically she's facing this direction, she turns all the way around till she's facing that direction again, and then she has 1 more step. So if you have a 3 and 4, it is a turn, turn, don't turn, okay? So if you watch this, again, she has walk, walk, and then she's gonna go half, half, and then she steps. Now from here, what I can do is, now that I'm still facing the side wall, I can release my left hand and I'm gonna gently send her out for an anchor in place. Her weight is back on her left foot, my weight is back on my right foot, so we've got some amount of leverage, okay? Here's the secret, we're gonna talk about this more later. You have to ask her to do stuff, you don't make her do stuff, okay? All you have to do is, leading just means asking, it doesn't mean telling. Okay, so once she gets wrapped up, I just have to ask her to unwrap, right? So I get to here and I just give her just a little bit just at the beginning, and she naturally knows that she's gonna face here. Guys, if you give her too much of a lead, she's gonna over-rotate, she's gonna end up facing a sidewall rather than forward, because she has this assumption. This is one thing we haven't talked about much in other videos, but if you get anything from this video, this is a takeaway. You've got 4 walls in a square room. Right? When she's on that side of the slot, she's generally facing that way. When she's on that way, she's generally facing that way. She's not going to be facing the side walls very much unless I, as a leader, ask her to do so. So she assumes that when I ask her to unwind here, that she's going to end up, since she's going to be on that side of the slot, she assumes she's going to end up facing here. I don't have to tell her to do that. Now, if I wanted her to face a different way, I have to lead her more to do that, which we're going to do that in the syncopated version. But what we have is we have lead her to start, I get out of the way and prep her for 2, then I wrap her up for 3, and 4. I ask only in the beginning, would you like to turn? She says, yes, I would love to do that. And this is very loose. Okay, so that is your basic wrap in and out. Now, from that footwork, her basic idea of coming towards me, turning one turn, facing forward, and unwrapping, we can create a lot of different things. We just have to touch each other differently, okay? The basic idea and the footwork of that is different. So if we did a fold, I've got this hand and not both hands. My footwork is essentially more or less kind of still the same, but I'm gonna go 1, 2, getting out of the way. Notice I have not rotated my body. When I did the other version, I turned to face aside, but now I've just gotten out of her way on count 2. I'm gonna take that hand down and I'm gonna do what's called break the wrist. We're gonna show you that close up, but it's gonna be 3 and 4. Now she is still doing the same footwork, so she is still facing that wall. I've got to turn the wrist over, ask her to start that turn, but I don't have to do much more than that, and she ends up facing the same direction. So if you watch her footwork, it's exactly the same. Let me show you that hand part close up. All right, guys, for this fold, we have to do what's called breaking the wrist, which is essentially nothing more than rotating the wrist over. We're not literally, breaking her wrist, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna lead her forward for 1, 2. Now, as I turn her in, you'll notice I actually turn the wrist over and then place that hand up against her lower back. Now, this has to be here, up against her back. We don't want that pulled back here because that's gonna be pretty uncomfortable, so you really have to manage your spacing. Now, to unwind her, I just turn the wrist back over, and that's gonna let her know to come back out. All right, so we lead her forward for 1, we step out of the way for 2, and prep her. Now, we're gonna turn that wrist over like we just said, placing it against her back. Then as we unwind it, you notice I'm facing this direction, she's facing there. Don't be actually tempted to actually turn the body too early. It loses the cool factor, right? But from here, we're gonna just turn that wrist over, stepping back into the slot and anchor. So now again, if you watch her footwork here, it's essentially the same. But we go back to that basic wrap in and out. She turns 1 turn, she's facing this way, and then I unwind her. But this for her is essentially the same footwork. We're just touching her hands differently, okay? So now, there are lots of different variations. We'll give you actually one more. So if we went to this cross hand hold, nice to meet you, shaking hands. My footwork is essentially going to be the same as the basic wrap in and out. I'm starting her for 1, I'm stepping out of the slot and turning 1/4 of a turn for 2. From here, I'm gonna stay facing this direction, taking that to her shoulder for 3 and 4. I can pick up that hand if I want to, I don't have to, but then from there, I just unwind her and step back into the slot. So my footwork is essentially the same on that. So if you watch all 3 of these together, here's your basic wrap in and out. 1, 2, I turn to face the sidewall, and then I unwind her. Now here's your fold where I stay facing this direction, turn that wrist over, and unwind. And if I got to this hand, this footwork is essentially the same. So I'm facing the sidewall and then I'll unwind. All 3 of those patterns are essentially the same. And there's an infinite number of other things. So the cool thing about this and the point we're trying to make is you learn one thing and it's not that complicated. There's just different ways, okay? So now we want to get into syncopated variations. Now syncopation is something that just strays away from the basic 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6 timing, okay? So that's a syncopation. Now to do that, we're gonna be eliminating a section. We'll show you what that means. All right, guys, we're gonna get back to your West Coast swing in just a second, but if you haven't done so already, check out xdance.com. Now just click that link and it'll take you to the webpage. That is our own virtual interactive dance training technology where we actually, it's almost like taking a one-on-one private lesson with us. So get an entire month of that for free. Now back to your West Coast swing. All right, guys, you're gonna wanna stick through this, okay? Because it's gonna get a little technical and I'm gonna say a bunch of words and stuff and not as much fun, but this is what it's gonna take and this is what's gonna make you great, okay? So sometimes there are certain things that are considered assumption, like the things you assume are going to happen, that we as leaders get to break them if we want to, because we're leaders and we get to choose and make decisions and stuff. But if you have 3 sections of 2 beats of music, just like we talked about, you have section 1, which is she comes towards me, right? That's your intention, the thing she's intending to do. Then we give her some stuff, that's the stuff that happens, and then she ends up in an anchor. Now, the rhythm for a syncopation is gonna go from that 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and it's gonna eliminate the first 2 counts. And we're gonna do that, what sometimes in some patterns would be called a rock and go. The intention of section 1, the first 2 counts, are to start her moving down the slot. Now, if I can achieve that at the end of the pattern on the 5 and 6, she doesn't need to do it twice, right? So what we would do is we would lead her forward 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now from here, we ask her to come forward and we can continue that through. So now the way that we would count this would not be 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Bear with me, it's just gonna be 3 and 4, 5, and 6, 3 and 4, 5, and 6 because we're eliminating section 1. So we might start with a 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Now this is 3 and 4, 5 and 6. 3 and 4, 5 and 6, whichever way we want to do that, as long as we can start her moving forward at the end. There's a bunch of different ways we can do that. Just think of just different hand chases, but here's the point we got to make. Earlier in this video, we talked about she assumes that if she's at that end of the slot, she finishes facing that way. And if she's at that end of the slot, she finishes facing that way. That's what she assumes is going to happen, but she doesn't always do that because sometimes I ask her to do something else, which maybe she's facing the side walls, which is essentially what I've got to do. So if I'm here with a basic wrap in and out, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I give her a little bit of lead and she knows this is where she's got to face. But if I do the syncopated, I need her to be facing a side wall. So instead of just starting her turn, I continue it through to have her actually finish facing a side wall. So we go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Instead of just giving her a little bit, I give her a little bit more till she's facing the side now. Now that she's facing the side, I can get her onto that left foot and I can just wrap her back up and ask her to face the side wall again. Now, I'm not real big on what the footwork is here for the leaders, as long as you're in the right place and facing the right direction. Keep the rhythm, maybe that helps, but ultimately, what's important is where she's facing, where she's going. So if we're here, as I unwind her, I don't just give her a little bit and ask her to do her thing. I give her a little bit, and then I give her a little bit more so that maybe we're more facing the side wall. I'm out of the slot so that I can just take that hand and lead her back in and then send her back out. And again, there's 1,000 different variations of that. My thing that I suggest is learn the basic wrap in and out first, then learn the syncopated version, and then as you've known both of them, if you've got a partner, practice to where she doesn't know which one's coming next, right? So I might say, we're gonna start here, and maybe I do a few basic wrap in and out, however many I choose, and I can do this as many times as I want, but at some point, I give her a little bit more. Now she knows she's facing the side wall, and then maybe I just kind of release her. You need to get a feel for what that feels like. Followers, you just assume if you're over there, you're facing there. If you're over there, you assume you're facing there and wait for him to communicate if he wants you to do something else, okay? Guys, this is the way that West Coast Swing is set up. There is just a core group of patterns, side passes, rolling passes, wrapping it out, whips, these things, that if you learn that, then the basic idea is if you learn that in the right way in those sections of 2 beats of music, it's just the same stuff over and over. Yeah, so when you think you're learning something new, chances are you're not learning something new, you're just learning a new way to do something you already knew how to do, right? If that makes any sense. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you feel like you got something from it, do us a favor right now. Go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and share this video. We want more people dancing. We're hoping this whole pandemic stuff is coming to an end soon. We want as many people dancing right now so that when the world reopens, we can all get back to it as soon as possible. So we've enjoyed doing this for you guys. If there's anything you guys would like to see, just comment down below, and then we'll see you guys next time. All right, guys, now that the video's over, you got 2 choices. You can click on that link, and that will take you to xdance.com. You can get an entire month of virtual training for free. Or if you just want to watch another video here on YouTube, that's down here. Either one of those are good choices. So we'll see you guys next time.